The sun sure has come out to join me today, this winter day. But even more beautiful than that, well, maybe not, but maybe even more beautiful than that is that you have come out to join me as well. So thank you so much for being with me on this journey. Just to update you a little bit, I am moving all over the place. I'm going from one side of the garden to the other. As you know, I'm sorting out these raised beds, but I have not a dilemma. As I've said, whenever there's a problem, there's always a solution. I'm trying to move soil in so many different places that I've kind of come up with an issue, as they would say, a problem. But as I say, in gardening, wherever there's a problem, there is a solution. So what I'm doing is a range of different ththings. I am trying to level off where these beds were. So for most of them, I have now removed the wooden pallets, with the exception of the one up here. I think there's still one buried down here somewhere as well. So I'm trying to level off the soil here. But in order to do so, I need to keep putting it somewhere. And the further down I dig, the more rocks or larger pieces of debris I'm finding. So what I am doing is almost three things in one. I'm digging up this area, but I'm going to dig it up to be lower than ground level. As I dig it up, I'm transferring it into my sieve or griddle to sift it out into this sort of area. The large stony bits in here, I'm actually then transferring them temporarily into the wheelbarrow, and then I will use these rocky ones anyway to put back in here to level this off. I hope that conundrum makes sense. It does to me. I'm going to dig this deeper than ground level. As I sift it through, the good sifted compost will end up through my handmade sieve into this area. Eventually, this area will be transported into the temporary dumpy bags, only to be brought back into the raised beds. In the meantime, the large bits of soil or rocks and stones that I'm finding will go into the wheelbarrow, and they will be tipped back in to this area to make it level again. Lots of work, I know, but somebody has to do it, and I'm up for it. So wherever there's a challenge, you can find me there. So that's what I'm doing. Thank you so much for understanding, because it took me a moment just to get it, and I'm glad you got it on the first time. Oh, listen, I need a thumbs up for that explanation. Okay, so this is the sifted soil, for want of a better word, the sifted compost. I know in the States you call it dirt. I find it so difficult to call it dirt. Soil, compost, earth, I guess. But I do appreciate that around the world we do call this different things. So I need to load up this barrel with the sifted compost now. Now to take it to the dumpy bag. Oh, panting, I'm out of breath. Oopsie. This is the most delightful compost. For the most part, I make my own, and this is great. I have literally managed to secure a whole dumpy bag of compost, the majority of which I have made myself. Next to it are the pebbles. As you can see from this part of the garden, it's the far end of the garden, and it is the place where I often sort of do my propagation, store some plants, nurse some plants. So it is the most unkept area in my garden, if I'm being honest. However, it still serves a purpose. You can see in recent videos I've been piling up my dumpy bags, and I'm going to continue doing that. I've got a temporary place for my berries, and I'm storing some of the old frames for now. They're going to be taken off site to the appropriate recycling area. And as you look from this part of the garden, you can see my bench that overlooks the pond area, and in relation to where I am at the end of the garden here, the raised beds that I'm removing are along this area here. So I hope that all makes sense. We have a friend that's just come to join us. Hey, beauty cats. It's not our cat, but she's welcome. Okay, hi there. I'm obviously stopping and starting and stopping and starting, and one day is rolling into the next day. And so, just as a continuation of this particular video, I hope you're doing well. As you can see, I'm continuing to make progress in a particular part of my garden. Well, I've got croaky in my throat, excuse me, in a particular part of my garden where I'm really focusing on the raised beds. But I have here, just behind the wheelbarrow, some black bamboo that I actually cut back last year, and I want to remove this clump of bamboo. It's just in front of the pond. The pond is just behind here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig this clump of bamboo out and actually put it into a container to give me the space I want in this area. I'm also going to be sorting out the pond at some stage. That will not be today, tomorrow, or anytime soon, but I do hope before spring, obviously, yes. Whilst wildlife in the pond is dormant, I'll be clearing that pond area out. But in the meantime, I'm just planning on removing this bamboo clump for now. Okay, so it's this particular clump of bamboo. I did cut it back actually last year with the view that I would leave it in situ, if that makes sense. So I part dug it up. I did cut it back last year, and now is the time for me to remove it from here and temporarily put it into a container. Until I find a new position for it, or possibly even gift it. So just so that you can see the in terms of bearings, oops, I'm getting a little tangled here. The clump of bamboo is just in front of the pond area, besides the greenhouse area, where I have been doing a lot of preparations for the raised beds. And this is somewhat in my plans of being removed and relocated. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to temporarily remove it and put it into a container. That was not easy. Okay, so the clump of bamboo that I've just dug out is too big for the container in which I intended it. So remember, wherever there's a problem, there's a solution. So what I'm going to be using is this polystyrene container that I used to use to cover my banana plants. And as you would have seen from one of my recent videos, I actually use a different method for my banana plants, and so I'm going to see if I can transport that clump of bamboo in here. And the reason being is I actually wanted to sit in some water, and this will hold water. So let's give it a go. As you now know, this is the part of the garden where I tend to leave things if I'm like bare root plants, for example, my cuttings, if I'm propagating stuff, and it's my clearing out area. So it itself doesn't look particularly appealing. You can see where I have filled the dumpy bags for the purpose of my new raised beds, and this is the position I think I'm going to use for the bamboo for now. It's a relatively flat area. I've just placed the polystyrene container here, and I'm going to see if I can get that bamboo plant to sit in there. We shall see. And I've just selected a part in the garden where even if it's still there come spring, it won't be in the way of what I need to be getting on with. So that's my plan. Let's see if it works. Okay, so it's somewhat fitted in that container. I'm going to backfill it with some soil and then put a lot of water in there as well. The things I do for the love of my garden. But listen to the birds singing away, providing me with nature's music, and the children just playing, remembering that we were children once too. And so I couldn't think of anywhere else I'd rather be than right here in the garden. So here's some of the compost I've just been sifting. I'm going to use it to backfill. And just get some of this rainwater. The water has also helped to push the soil further down, providing the gap, and I'm just going to top it up with a bit more of the soil. Another little job done. The water on my bird feeder is more or less frozen, so I'm just going to disturb some of the ice in the event we do have some birds needing to get a drink. It's been really quite cold here in the UK, but it doesn't stop me from gardening. Okay, so one of the things I now need to do is where I removed the bamboo, I now need to just tidy up this area a little bit and backfill so that there's just to even up the ground somewhat. Much of here will be tidied up anyway, but it's just to prevent anybody from having an accident. I'm just going to backfill this little hole here. I need to make sure I put the lid back on the water. This is just rainwater I collect in a vessel. And I use an old burning pit lid just to make sure, well really it's just to narrow the hole in there so that things like maybe squirrels, and we've got a couple of local cats, that they don't fall in there, but it acts as a funnel and allows the rainwater to collect in there. I now need to fill this hole where the bamboo was. I'm just going to do a little bit of tidying up there, removing any unwanted plants, and then I'm going to just put in some soil. This plant here is lovely. This is sarcopocca. It's flowering, and in the next few days, even weeks, you'll be able to smell the incredible aroma from this plant. I'm in a bit of a tight spot here, nonetheless. When I've been sifting through the compost, these bits are the lumpier parts, bits of stones, and it is that really that I'm going to use initially to start backfilling this area, and then towards the higher part then I'll cover it with some topsoil. But this is for me just to repurpose some of the clumpier, lumpier parts that I had been sifting. Okay, so just, I hope it makes sense. Now to get some sifted topsoil. Okay, a little bit more required. Okay, that little job is done. Now, to continue the project. Thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate your presence and your support as I continue to grow this channel. I'm in awe. I truly am. I'm grateful to each and every single one of you. And as we get through these dark, cold winter days, and maybe where you are is not so cold, not so wintry, but as perhaps we go from one season to the next, I continue to send positive energy to each and every single one of you and to those you care about and love. Keep keeping well.